Racism isn't just yesterday's problem, at least not when it's America. What if I told you that many American towns still hold traditional values of only white neighborhoods and towns? Or that almost 90% of police stops in America's richest state were for black people in 2018? Or the fact that we have so many stereotypes floating around in our daily lives? Muslims being terrorists, Jews being penny pinchers, and so much more. It's important to note that racism isn't as black and white because there are nationalist, religious, and indigenous elements. So while the country is making progress from its racist past, it's still a problem throughout the US. Some towns definitely have it worse than others, and in this video, we're going to visit the most racist towns in America. But before we dive into the list, we know that not everyone in these towns believes in racial discrimination, and that the entire nation is actively fighting for equality and justice for all. That said, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Here are America's most racist towns today. Number 10. Pulaski, Tennessee. Did you know that Pulaski is literally the birthplace of the Ku Klux Klan? For those of you who don't know who the Ku Klux Klan is, let's take a little detour into history. In 1865, the South was defeated in the Civil War, and America was in the era of Reconstruction. But on December 24, 1865, 6 former Confederate officers founded the Ku Klux Klan. The role of this group was mainly to act as vigilantes throughout the night, patrolling neighborhoods. But soon it became a powerful, cruel, and racist empire that targeted the recently freed black people by terrorizing them, burning many, and even killing them without any repercussion. But black people weren't all they targeted. Sympathetic white folks and abolitionists were also targeted. Pulaski today has a plaque dedicated to this racist Klan in the old courtroom, and the worst part is that the locals fully support the plaque, as it apparently represents chivalry and whatnot. But that doesn't really sit well with African Americans in the vicinity who can recount the terrors faced by their direct ancestors. You might be thinking, this is number 10? It's so extreme already. Well, this next one might be even more shocking than Pulaski. Number 9. Waterloo, Iowa. Situated by the Cedar River, Waterloo is home to 70% white people, 17% African Americans, and only 3% of American Indians and Asians combined. However, according to a study in 2018, Waterloo came on top of America when it comes to the racial divide, income gaps, unemployment, home ownership, and financial well-being. Let's break down more of the statistics here. In Waterloo, black unemployment is 5 times that of white unemployment. 72% of white folks are homeowners, while only 32% of African Americans own their homes. According to a HuffPost report, Waterloo was the 6th worst area to be black in all of America, but in 2021, the town was bumped up to number 1. Congrats, I guess. Recently, the town elected its first black mayor, and while racism isn't a hidden problem, some townspeople are actively trying to erase this reputation. Number 8. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You might have heard about Wisconsin as the best American state to live in because of its low crime rate, accessible and high-quality healthcare and education. But these benefits are really for everyone but black people, especially in Milwaukee. Let me throw in some statistics about why I say this to you. For one, Milwaukee's schools suspended black students twice as much as white students on similar offenses. These schools also have the highest achievement gap in the country. According to another poll, Americans think of Wisconsin as a very white state, yet 40% of the state's population is black. But it's not just schools that have these racial disparities. The state of Wisconsin also throws more black men in jail than any other state. In fact, it's so bad that more than 50% of black men over 30 have been to prison. Number 7. Boston, Massachusetts. For decades, Boston has been plagued with the claim of being the most racist city in America. Many people from the south of the country, which is stereotyped as the more racist part of America, have moved to Boston, only to realize that Boston's much worse. To give you a simple idea, Harvard did a political review on why Boston is as racist as it is. Many Boston Celtics players have spoken publicly about racism in the city, and there are many figures to support their opinion. In 1974, Bostonians violently resisted desegregation attempts. During that year, white people bombarded school buses full of black children who were going to desegregated schools with glass bottles, eggs, and bricks. In 2015, a study concluded that the average net worth of white Bostonians was $247,000. Neat, right? Well, for black people, the median net worth was $8. Yes, this is vetted by The Guardian. People like LeBron James have been cussed, called the N-word, and had beer bottles thrown at along with Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. Number 6. Rochelle, Georgia. Now, this one might offend some true Georgians, but it is what it is. Situated smack bang in the middle of Georgia, Rochelle is a quaint little town within Wilcox County. And if I'm honest, Wilcox County as a whole is a little bit racist. Now, when you enter this county, you'll notice that traditions are highly respected. You'll find churches on every corner, as well as Confederate flags waving about, and even up until 2014, the schools held segregated proms, one for white students and another for black students. But how did they get away with this? They didn't. Public schools stopped hosting proms altogether so that they wouldn't have to do mixed dances. Imagine your own school not wanting you to mingle with your classmates because your skin is a different color. As a result, parents and students hosted their own proms, where one of them was arranged for black students only, while the other was segregated just for white students. Yay, progress. Number 5. Trenton, New Jersey. Trenton is the capital city of New Jersey, a pretty city on the border that touches Pennsylvania. During 1784 and 1799, the city even served as a temporary U.S. capital and became the industrial hub of the region. Now, this town's racism is quite systematic and bleeds into all of its governmental institutions. From healthcare to police forces, Latinos, Asians, and Black Americans have faced many hurdles and don't get the same treatment as their white counterparts. Just during COVID-19, Trenton statistics revealed that Hispanics contracted COVID twice as much as white people. Similarly, black residents were hospitalized or died in greater numbers than anyone else. The reason behind this was the systematic racism in the healthcare system that failed to provide proper support to that community. There have been numerous instances where cops seriously injured, imprisoned, or killed people of color based on suspicious activity, such as getting tea out of their cars, jogging at night, and window shopping in the malls. Police brutality has grown to the point that the U.S. Department of Justice is currently investigating whether Trenton police have a practice or pattern of excessive force and illegal stops. Just in the past 6 years, around 2,600 Latinos were killed by police in this town alone. So this place isn't just racist, it's dangerous. Number 4. Vidor, Texas. Every time we grapple with America's racist history, there will always be some fact that will blow your mind. For me, it was the concept of sundown towns. Now, for those of you who don't know this, sundown towns are places where black people were not allowed after dark. You could not be out on the street as a black person, even if it was emergency, and some of these towns posted actual signs, saying things like "whites only after dark." Vidor was one of them. It might appear that this was a long time ago, but the first black resident of Vidor moved in 1993 amidst the Ku Klux Klan protest. He even pleaded for more black residents to join him and desegregate this town, but only 5 were willing to move. And today, out of 8,600 people who live in Vidor, only 39 of them identify as black. Despite all this occurring in the late 90s, things have not really changed in Vidor. In 2020, in the wake of the death of George Floyd, a Black Lives Matter march was supposed to take place in Vidor. However, it was met with backlash from many of the town residents, as well as counter-protesters. So there is a lot that needs to change in this Texan town. Number 3. Fresno, California. When you think of California, you think of a vibrant art scene, warm weather, and a melting pot of cultures. It's where the dreams come true, right? Well, that can't really be said about the 5th largest city in this state. In fact, the state of California itself is riddled with racism, race riots, and sundown towns. Come to Fresno and you'll be greeted with overflowing landfill sites, pothole-ridden roads, and inefficient school systems. To some, it might even appear to be a third-world town. Even though it was outlawed over 50 years ago, Fresno was a town that continued to redline the real estate market for black folks for a long time. They refused to offer mortgages or deeds to houses in specific white neighborhoods. The result is that Fresno's western side is home to black and Latino populations, while the eastern side is all white neighborhoods. There have even been reports where white teachers have called black students racial slurs in recent years. And by no coincidence, over half of the western Fresno locals live below the poverty line and face government neglect that affects their daily lives. Compare it to eastern Fresno, where 27% of folks live below the poverty line, with the government actively improving their lifestyle. Number 2. Anchorage, Alaska. It's important to remember that racism isn't just against African Americans or Latinos. Many times, racism can be against the native community of that area. A prime example of that would be Anchorage, Alaska. Up north of America is Anchorage, a beautiful town that doesn't tolerate its own natives, people of color, or anyone that's not Catholic, really. Even though Native Alaskans make up just 16% of the total population, they make up 30% of the murder victims in this town. Black Americans make up just 4% of the population, yet they constitute 10% of the homicide victims. The city is also facing a crisis of violence against Native Alaskan women, and practically no resources are being brought in to solve the hate crimes and violence. When we talk about schools, black students in Anchorage fail twice as much as white students, while Native Alaskans fail thrice as much as white students. The reason for this is the tense environment around the town, putting them in a distraught state of mind. People of color aren't given as many opportunities or resources as their white counterparts, starting from their earliest days. Number 1. Harrison, Arkansas. Situated just on the border of Missouri is Harrison in Boone County. The town has gained quite the fame for being the most racist town in America by the entire nation at large, with a racist legacy that goes deep into history. Arkansas was a former slave state and was witness to the Harrison race riots of 1905 and 1909, where the town forcefully displaced all but one black man. Their goal was to simply have an all-white community, and to remove every person they considered below human. But let's get back to today. Is Harrison racist today? Yes, it is, and Bob Bliss proved it to the world. YouTuber Bob went to Harrison and held up a Black Lives Matter sign in the middle of the town. The result was 3 days of verbal and physical abuse, racial slurs, and direct death threats that were recorded on his camera. The funny thing is that Bob is an average-looking white male, so while all these towns are trying to improve their image and join the fight against prevailing injustices, there is a long way to go to achieve true harmony and look beyond skin tones. And this is the end of our video. If you liked knowing which American towns have it bad when it comes to racism, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. That way we'll book you a passenger seat on our upcoming video travels. In the meantime, check out this cool video right here.